I don't know if my internet's gonna go. Hi everyone, and welcome to E2E Studios Live Power Hour on Thursday. This is where you can ask any of your questions that you may have in regards to websites, SEO, content creation, even your branding. So, I'm Ailey of E2E Studios, and what I do is I am the social and graphics manager. I look after social media, I look after the design of websites, your branding, and I create content for your platforms. As always, I have Mike with me today.
Hey everyone. So I am Michael from E2 Studios, and I run most of the elements of the web development side of it with my business partner Matt as well. We pretty much touch anything from front end development to more complex system developments. So we've been working with people like Twitch streamers, with mortgage brokers, with housing groups to build back end systems to support their operation. So today we've got a fair chunk of questions that have been preloaded, that have been sourced from either questions from yourselves that have pinged some over separately, or curated elsewhere. So we're going to be going through some of those. If anyone does have any questions while we go through this one, you are more than welcome to ask any question at any time, and we'll look at getting them ready for you and see if we can answer anything that might help.
Yeah, so make sure that you ask your questions, even if you want to just drop any of your problems. Like last time, we helped someone with their videos. So drop it in the comments and let us help. I do have to apologize for Mike's cam today. It seems to be having an off day.
I am working from home today because I have a delivery, which is due to arrive at 12. Hopefully, it arrives at 12 and not just before 12. So I may have to slightly dash as I've got a washing machine arriving. But yeah, this camera is not great. I've been scouring all over for my actual camera and I can't find it. So unfortunately, I'm making do with this one. But hopefully, you guys can still hear me loud and clear.
Yeah, so let's dive into it with our first question, which is I have a B2B model with large organizations. Does social media work for me?
Does social media work for me? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Ailey will go through some of this more in depth, but the way I would probably see it as, particularly with some larger organizations, I would say your social media is no longer there to drive sales per se, as it is with other companies. So if I were a cleaning company, a small cleaning company locally, your social media is really there to drive traffic and to drive sales. If we are a manufacturing business that's selling pallets of wood by the metric ton load through internationally, your social media is probably not there to generate sales from people in there. However, what it does is when people are searching for companies, so they'll already have a pre-list of companies that sell relevant materials. When they're going through those, they will be looking out for your website to get more information about you and your brand, and they'll also be looking at your socials to see what you engage in, what you do. So really, it's there as a springboard or a research area to find out more about the business that you're running and what you actually get involved in, rather than it being the exact same as a smaller business, which is there to purely drive sales. Ailey, do you want to social media? So do you want to expand on that?
So you kind of hit the nail on the head. So social media tends to work in terms of sales better for the smaller businesses where people need to contact you directly. However, if you are a larger brand, you'll already have a sales team behind you. You'll already have your sort of digital marketing plan, and all of that kind of stuff in place. If you don't, you really should. And the thing is that people use social media more to find out about these bigger companies than to actually buy. So if you're not, say, on Facebook and your particular audience uses Facebook as a way of searching, then you're missing that out and they might not trust you as much. It's kind of, I had a discussion with Louise about how if you've got nothing on your page, it can look like a scam. If you have no social media presence, it can look like a scam. Because people nowadays have become very reliant on social media. On top of that, you also have people who aren't happy to leave reviews on like Google or other platforms like that, and they'd much rather leave you a review on Facebook, because it's just quick and easy and they can do it there and then. So yeah, it's maybe not there to drive your sales, but it is there to drive traffic, and within that traffic, you might get a sale. But there's so many other outside influences that we have to consider when it comes to sales. People assume that marketing is there to make you a return. It's there to try and make you a return. It can drive as much traffic and as much really good potential leads to you. But if your website's not up to scratch, if your sales team don't know how to actually communicate, or you don't know how to onboard someone, then that's your business's responsibility to deal with. So yeah, social media, it's good to be on it. You don't have to be on all the channels. You just have to choose a few that are going to work for you. And specifically in B2B, I always recommend LinkedIn. Even though the business pages don't get as much traction, a lot of people do have a look at them. On top of that, it's also building a strategy for your personal page on how you're going to interact. And when I say interact, I mean, how are you commenting on other people's posts? Is there maybe a founder or a particular company or business that you really want to work with? So you need to find those people in the business that you can connect with, talk to, and start building a relationship. These days, it grows quite hard to get sales, because people buy from people. They want to know who's behind the brand, who's behind the company, and that they'll actually be looked after. It's not a case of you fire out an email and you get a sale the next day. There's a lot of nurturing that needs to go on.
That kind of, it's not specifically social media-esque, but we've been, I think I would have shared some links on YouTube recently with some of the analytics software that we've been using internally. So if you want to check those out, then please do. And we'll probably do a little bit of a session on them at one point to go through them in a little bit more detail on here as well. But one thing that we have been looking at is particularly reviewing the pages that people are visiting on websites. And it's been interesting over the last probably really year or 2 years. There's been a shift of the focal points of websites. So generally speaking, or more historically, people went onto a site and then went to the sales page, or they went to featured, or they would find a product that they were looking for. And you might think that's still the really great place to go. But in actual fact, where we've seen the vast majority of traffic now, which is interesting, is the actual about page. So we're probably seeing now about 60% of the user base that hits a website, the first page they go to is the about. After the home page, they go over to the about page. Because they really want to find out who they're working with, what kind of business it is. We're having a lot of interest now with companies talking about green hosting, to make sure that they're eco-friendly. We've got a lot talking about websites that are selling products for the right kind of eco groups and making sure things are low carbon emissions. So it's been interesting, that focal point where people are now really wanting to know more about the business, more about the people in the business. Are they the right people I want to work with or buy from before I even look at the products?
Yeah.
And that's been a very interesting shift that we've started to see now more recently is there's been a real focal point on actually who am I buying from compared to what are they selling me?
Yeah, and it's become such a key focal shift that you'll even see in in trends and videos. The people that are talking to you instead of just showcasing a product are actually getting a lot more views. We've seen a massive trend happening on TikTok where people are actually packaging orders, because one, it's letting people see behind the scenes. It's letting people see maybe the time and care that particular business owner is putting into packaging an item. And we also have to keep in mind that humans are very, very nosy. We like to know what's going on. We don't like cloak and daggers. So it's also giving that transparency that people want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was a really good starting question, actually.
Really good starting question.
Other parts,
like,
but
there's many we could go into, like setting up your funnel, deciding your goals, having your marketing strategy, your social media, your business development, and your sales team all working together, because you can't just rely on one thing anymore.
I think that's interesting, isn't it? Because so many sites have different things that they would classify as a funnel piece, or I guess an end goal that they're looking for now.
Yeah.
Now, for a lot of people, your end goal would be hitting the contact form, finally actually making a purchase. Those are the goals. But in other people's businesses, it might be just the reading of a blog post. Is there what the need that you need?
Or even just finding out about them is another thing.
Yeah.
And like if they're a consultant, for instance, maybe their end goal isn't having the people book, it's actually finding out who they are and then building the relationship from there. People now know when they're being sold to. Previously, people were, am I actually being sold to? What is this? And there was a curiosity. Now that there's been a big amp up in the digital noise, people know when they're being sold to. And if you're selling directly going, buy my stuff, it's unlikely to convert.
Yeah.
Cool. So shall we move on to the next one? Because there's many areas that we can dive into for this.
Yeah, no, it sounds good.
So the next one is, my WordPress website is still functioning fine, but it tells me I should update it. Why? This is interesting because I get frustrated with this bit.
It is, and there's a few different places that you might get that notification. We were working with a site recently that was on a slightly older version of PHP. PHP is the language behind WordPress. I think they were on version, I don't know, somewhere along the lines of 6.4. And just to state, 6.4 has been well past its usage part by some time now. I think we're on 8.1.
Yeah, I think it's
right, or I'm gonna get blasted by.
I shall search for you.
But yeah, it's fine. So
yeah, we're on 8.1. So you were right.
So that was actually behind on the versions, which is did it stop the functionality of the site? No. However, what it is doing is those updates are there because there has been known security leaks potentially. And these updates will plug any security leaks that has been made aware. What it also looks at is to view any issues with could be just old kind of code, which is now redundant or not effective. Now, actually, when we updated the site to the new version, we went from around about a 6 second per site load to around about 1.4 second site load. We did nothing other than update the website into the newer version of the code base. Now, we had to do some testing to make sure that nothing broke, because there is a different code base, there is differences. But actually, it actually increased the speed of the site and made it more functional than it was before.
Yeah. And you need to remember that people will click off a site if it takes more than 3 seconds to load.
Yeah, I'd probably even say sometimes less than that.
If I'm very much, if it takes a few seconds, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this.
But yeah, so that's just for PHP versions, which is just your coding language. WordPress itself has a wide range of places that'll need update. The WordPress system itself might need an update. The plugins that you utilize may need an update. Now, I would say that if you are looking to make an update, one, if you've got a developer on hand, please try and get them to look at updating it. But if you haven't,
a backup. Always have a backup.
Yeah, have a backup, because what happens is you may update a plugin. So let's say, for instance, you update your plugin, but you haven't updated your PHP version. So you update your plugin, but the new plugin has code that is dependent on the new version of PHP. Your site will just not work. It's simple as that.
Yeah. There we go.
So that would be an issue. So you do make sure that you've got backups, and then you have to make sure you're testing those plugins first. So I would definitely say make sure that you try and update one plugin at a time, and make sure it's working. And then go on to the next one until you finish them all, and then also update the WordPress platform itself. But yeah, it'll still function, but there is going to be those security vulnerabilities that you need to make sure are updated and plugged, and you might even get some new features which you've been dying for that you might not have known about until you update it. But backups and testing are still really important with that process, whether it's WordPress or PHP or anything else.
And there is also the issue of not just that, but there's also the issue of your servers sometimes require stuff to be updated to actually function. If the server determines that it's unsafe, then you're not going to have a site that's working properly for you. There is a reason that updates are needed, and usually 9 times out of the 10 it's security. And having any type of slight insecurity on your site will lead to browsers determining that your site is unsafe and will block users from actually accessing it. So please, back up your site, update it when it needs updated, and if you're not sure what to do, come and talk to us or talk to your developer.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So let's move on to the next question. And this one we've kind of had we've touched on this before, but now we can go into a little bit more detail. Security. Yep. So, should I add live chat to my website?
We have a live chat on our website. I'm not sure that's the defining factor where we should have a live chat on your site or not. But we do have a live chat on our site. No one ping it now because I'm not looking at it. But
don't do it. I'm warning you.
But yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your business and what you want to try and offer. Now, if you are, I'm trying to think of something. Let's say you are a plumber on the go all the time, going from job to job. The live chat might be harder for you to manage because you're not at a computer or constantly on your phone checking those messages. And it's a little harder to run. In your circumstance, I imagine a phone call would probably be more appropriate compared to a live chat system. And really, if you have a live chat system, you need someone available to answer that message. Similar to what Aile mentioned before about waiting for a site to load. Then if you're sending in what you would classify as an instant message, people are expecting an instant response. So they don't want to wait on their phone screen for 10 minutes because they want to close it and move somewhere else. So I would say that the live chat can be helpful if you've got, one, staff to cope with live chat, and two, the availability for it. You can also set time restraints on a lot of live chats where you can say, right, I don't want it on between X and Y, or I want to turn it off when I log off the system or whatever else. So you can look at those ones. You can also look at live bot chats, which are...
Be careful with them.
Yeah, we don't want them learning on their own.
They'll take over everything.
But yeah, so you've got the option for live bot chats where it can tell people things through a bot without the human interaction part of it. So those do have some successes, but again, it depends on your site and what you're actually running, because bots might not work.
Yeah, for instance, if you're selling products, you should have everything that a person needs within the product description, which would ultimately lead to you not needing these chatbots. If you're selling very bespoke products, ideally you'd want them to be emailing you, then going through a live chat so that you have that information on hand and you can put it into folders and whatever else you need. If you're selling a service, again, it depends on what kind of service you're selling. If it's a booking system, you want them to go straight into the booking system because that makes your flow easier and it makes their life easier. An issue that we've all had and experienced with these live chats, and especially when it comes to bots, is sometimes you just cannot get the answer you're looking for. So if you are going to do a bot chat, make sure that you've got the right process in place so that the steps to finding the information they need is very, very clear. Or if they ask questions, that the answers are actually relevant to those questions being asked. I don't want to ask about someone, how do I log into XYZ, and then end up getting something about, you should update your server. There's two completely different things that are completely off topic and can really throw someone off. Another thing to consider as well, if you've been using these live chats and these bot chats, is that at the end of the day, as we mentioned before, humans are curious and they want to talk to the person. So always have some kind of option somewhere where someone can reach you. I'm sure if you've been with a phone company and you've had an issue with maybe a payment or something like that, and trying to get through to a person is an absolute nightmare. Just keep that in mind, especially if you're a small business. The harder it is for someone to get in touch with you, the higher it is that you're going to get bad reviews and less sales. So you have to remember the whole customer experience as well as not just making your life easier.
I had an interesting one for this. This isn't directly about live chats per se, but a few weeks ago, I was sat in the office and my work phone started to ring. A number that I hadn't recognised before, which isn't unusual for the work phone. So I picked up the phone, and this American voice started talking to me. And he was asking me, like, do I run E2E Studios? I'm like, yep, I run E2E Studios. He says, I just wanted to quickly cross-check some details for Google Maps. I'm calling from Google. I'm like, okay then. Sure. He says, I've got your details on Google Maps as XYZ. Is this correct? Yeah, that's correct. And your opening times are between this and that? Yep, that's correct. Okay, that's everything. Thank you very much for your time. And I was like, I was confused for a while, right? Because it was really like clear, the vocals parts. But I got the distinct impression, and it was only like at the back of my mind, that I wasn't actually talking to a person. That it was actually a recorded person or like a generated one on the fly. But it was so smooth that it was scary accurate. Like there was even like mannerisms in there, like yeah, let me just have a quick look for you. Like the delays and everything else was pretty much bang on. Now I think I even sent Chris Evans in the chat an audio clip, and I think he might have got a call from them a bit later on as well. But it was so bang on. I'm not even joking. Like I would not have thought it was a bot. And you also get that, and people might even not even realize that when they're talking to a lot of live chat bots as well, that they're even a bot either. They might think they're talking to a human. They are so realistic now. It is insane.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. Personally, I'm not one for picking up the phone if I don't know who's calling me, unless it's the work phone, because I am that sad drug dealer that has two phones apparently. Thanks, Chris, for calling me out on that one. That's a joke, by the way. E2E team have a lot of fun. And so if it's on my work phone, I'll answer it. The amount of times that I've picked up the phone, thought I was talking to someone, and then they go, press 1, press 2, and I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah, what if it's actually a lady just going,
yeah, it's just like
1. And you're pressing the button. She's like, "You idiot! I'm talking to you."
And she's like, "Excuse me."
Yep.
So they are becoming very smooth in these automation and things. But always at any business, the key point is the customer experience and the customer service. So if you want to be away with that and just ignore all the customer service and customer experience, you're going to be in for a rough ride. Cool. So let's move on to our next one. Oh, this one's quite fun. We were chatting about this recently.
All right.
Shopify, Etsy, WooCommerce. Too many to name. What's the difference?
What's the difference? Some of it is ownership. So, in terms of ownership, if we look at WooCommerce for an example. So WooCommerce, generally speaking, you would be hosting it on your own platform, your own system, and you own that site, generally speaking, and that's your stuff. You've also got places like Etsy. Etsy is not really a website per se. I mean, Etsy itself is a website, but you don't really have a website on Etsy.
Yeah.
It's more of a marketplace, an eBay shop or an Amazon store kind of element compared to anything else.
You are, in a sense, victim to their changes. They can make whatever changes they want. I know Etsy recently have upgraded, and some of it now is a pay-to-play platform. So if you want all these little extras, you're now going to have to pay a fee. And for small sellers, that's not great at all, considering you've already got maybe the fees for listing the product and things like that.
Another downside
Also,
to that
hi
one as
Marky,
well.
thanks for joining us.
Another downside to it as well is the fact that you're also on the same platform as your competition is. But there's pros and cons to that platform as well. So you've got the cons of the stuff that we've discussed now, but there is pros in terms of it is its own independent system. You don't have to drive the traffic there yourself a lot of the time.
Yeah, a
You
lot
can
of the
make sure your
time
products can
there's
drive people in.
a lot
But
of time there's an audience already on Etsy.
exactly, yeah.
So, and I've seen crafters buying from crafters and small sellers buying from small sellers. There is an issue just now of drop shippers starting to use the platform. So if you are using Etsy and you see drop shipping or these mass produced kind of stuff, it would be good for you and for your crafters and other small seller community to report it.
Is that against T's and C's? I don't know, actually.
Yes, it is actually.
It is.
There's some T's and C's which is against these mass-produced stuff being on that platform.
Fair enough. I wasn't aware.
But people still get away with it.
Oh, of course. So we got Shopify as another example is a bit of an easier way to make a shopping system. Now this one is slightly closer to WooCommerce in terms of you do have your own shop, you have your own website URL, you have your own customers, you have to do your own marketing, all that stuff. There is a little bit of difference though. So within that one, Shopify owns the website, and you also have to, again, similar to Etsy, you have to follow their rules with how it's operated, and there's also preset payments within that as well. So in terms of that is, I think for the smaller packages along the lines of 2.2% plus 20p for each transaction, something like that. So it can rack up quite high when you're selling a fair chunk of products. The higher you pay per month, the lower you get with that. But if you went with a different platform like WooCommerce and you just connected directly to things like WooCommerce payments or Stripe, you'll be paying less anyway. So there is difference within those in terms of how they operate. I would say, in terms of what I would say to prefer, it would probably be WooCommerce out of the three, because you end up owning your site. You end up owning your own website, and it's up to you what you want to do with it and how you want to run it.
There's less of the pay-to-play kind of stuff. You're given a bit more freedom as well with WooCommerce.
Yeah, because you can also, if you have someone who's a developer or you're working with a developer, they can also amend code that WordPress puts in there that you might want to circumvent or do something differently with. Whereas with Etsy and Shopify, it's their code base, and they're the only ones that can make those changes, basically. Etsy's a pretty fair platform if you want to start your own little small shop and see how it goes. I would say use it as a springboard and look to move, but that's going to be up to you when you feel comfortable. And it's a pretty, I guess, cheaper platform to start to play with. Similar to Shopify, you will have to still do things like your own marketing and SEO. It is a cheaper version to get a site up and running, but long term, it'll probably start to cost you more. So have a think about your model. If you then decide you're on Shopify and saying, right, I don't want to use Shopify anymore, I'm going to now finally move over and get my own website on WordPress, you're going to have to pretty much pay for the whole website again, because you can't just move the site from Shopify, because it is their code and it's their designs. If you want to move it, you have to rebuild it yourself manually. So choose your platform that you feel is right for you now, but if you think it's going to change within 3-4 months, I would probably say choose a platform you want within 3 to 4 months, and don't start with it straight away.
I would say also, whenever you're starting a venture, you need to consider not just what you're going to do in a year. You need to consider what you're going to do in 5 years, and then how is that going to expand. And a lot of these pre-made platforms do not have that capacity to expand for you. So say you're going onto WordPress, you want it to have all these different things. You also want to make your own plugin for something. You can do that on a WordPress and WooCommerce platform, but it's harder for a platform like Etsy. Don't even try. Shopify, I know you can do some stuff with it, but it's not as flexible as WordPress can be. And then if you want flexibility beyond what any of these platforms can do, then you want to look at a custom solution. So again, it's considering, is this just a little side hustle that you're doing that you don't really want to put that much investment into? Then maybe look at these sort of springboard platforms. Is it going to be a long-term goal maybe look at something else. And then if you're like, this is my business and I want it to grow and I want it to do more, then definitely invest in a decent platform, be it WooCommerce or a custom solution.
Yep, that's pretty much bang on, yeah. Brilliant questions.
These are great questions today. Oh, we have a long one, which is quite interesting because I think both of us...
Oh, I have to read. Okay.
We're going to have to read. I'll read it for you. Don't worry. I have just finished my university course and I want to get into development. But I feel like when I read job descriptions, I'm so far behind. Any recommendations?
Finished university, looking for work in the field. Behind. I'm assuming we're talking about
probably
web development. Development. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So I would say there's a few things to consider here now. When I've also looked at job descriptions in the past, and I'll ask for things like proficient in React.js, proficient in Node.js, ability to utilize WordPress, or ability to utilize Drupal or Joomla, or there is so many platforms. You know, we think we've spoke about 3 just today, and those would be things like WooCommerce, which is a part of WordPress. We spoke about Etsy. We spoke about Shopify. We've then got things like Magenta, Drupal, Joomla, ProcessWire, and we've not even touched custom systems yet. These are more like CMS systems. Then we've got custom systems, and you've got custom code like Laravel frameworks. You've got custom code that's just based in PHP, C#, Python. There is so many programs, there are so many languages that people can utilize. It can be really hard to look at one and say, yeah, I can do all those, but I don't think that's always necessarily an option. And I don't think I think they're more like, these are what we prefer to have that someone has, but they're not always essential to have, because for those things, I don't know any developer that knows every single language, because it's just not reasonable. And if they do know them all, then I would highly say they don't specialize in any of them, and they kind of touch on those systems. Now, I'm not putting that as a widespread. There's probably a few people that can really harness any language quite easily, but it's definitely one where if you want to get an expert, try and get an expert in that specific field. Now, we pretty much specialize within the PHP area, and we don't touch pretty much at all the Microsoft parts of programming. So we wouldn't take on those kind of projects because it's not within our wheelhouse. So let's say, first of all, then you look for jobs. Firstly, take it as a pinch of salt about what they're looking for and what they're trying to get hold of. If the job title specifically says React.js developer, then I would heavily say you need to know React.js. If it just says web developer and I want these types of skills, then I probably say that is more of a preference than it is a requirement for the job role. And then also have a think of the salary part of that as well.
Yeah.
Because if they're asking for, I don't know, 22,000 a year or something that's closer to kind of a minimum entry wage, but if they're asking for things like 5 years of React.js, then I would say nah. But I would say that anyone that has got those kind of years of JS would not be taking a role other than closing onto maybe close to the 45, 50k mark to start with, because that's, it's a very sought after field. I would definitely keep looking though, because right now, more than ever, there is a huge amount of job availability within the tech sector, within the development sector, because it's a skill that is still being looked at, but people are more looking at the WordPress elements or the do-it-yourself elements compared to the old school coding, which is what we probably more so look at. But it's hard to get people with that now. So we've just got a guy through recently who has been with us for now 6 months, 7 months now. And he's doing really well, but he finished university with, I guess, more theoretical knowledge than he did actual coding part. He's picked it up at a really good pace, which is actually brilliant to see. But his fundamental knowledge of PHP wasn't there, and it wasn't taught. They kind of touch on the surface of a lot of elements. I know my son is doing a course at the moment, and they're utilizing Wix. for building portfolio websites, which, sure, I mean, he's not on a games course, but still, I probably wouldn't specify to use those kind of platforms because they're not brilliant, and they also don't own it either. So Wix is just continuously owned by Wix, and you don't own your own website. So I would say, yeah, if you're looking for work within the field, keep looking. First of all, reach out to some agencies that may, if you're doing a fresh one and you're like my staff member that joined who has got a lot more theoretical experience, be really clear about what you can do and how much you want to learn. I would definitely say, though, continue to learn it at home, because web development is ever changing and you can't realistically get it all in within your work hours. And it sounds unfair for a lot of job roles, but I always find personally the job role that I'm in is there more for the education is using Wix. I know it's bad.
Yeah.
I would say more so that it's a skill that you really want to enjoy to do, because you have a lot of time at a desk and coding it. And it's even like when I finished up for the day and I was reading this on Reddit, there was a question on Reddit saying, do you still enjoy web coding in your spare time as a hobby? Because I got into this doing coding a long time as a hobby before I've taken it as a full career path.
This is a guy who makes plugins in his spare time because he doesn't like the way something works.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I get annoyed if I find something that doesn't work and I'll decide to try and rebuild it in a different way. So as an example, I was this weekend just passed, so I've been playing some like D&D with some friends and enjoying that stuff, and I was using this system to generate kind of the best types of encounters, and I was using one, got annoyed with it, and I just made a system over the weekend to do it for me, so I don't have to. But yeah, I do enjoy coding. I enjoy trying to automate things and make my life a little bit more simpler. And I would say you need to continuously keep working at coding to carry on, because it's ever changing. It's so hard to keep on top of it. And while you've got so many things to do during the day, so I would say if you really enjoy it, practice it, get used to it, show them that as your portfolio piece of the things that you do in your spare time, because I'm telling you that will actually like hold you in such high status if they know that when you're doing it, it's a forefront of what you really want to do.
I can put a little bit of input as well. So even though this will be more from the graphics design side of things and branding, so what I did was I was in a gaming guild and I made logos for them. I made some content for them, just to have those really cool graphics, and I put it on my website. I had a friend who was starting up a business, so I made them a logo as well, and in agreement that I would get so much money once profit was made, and that's all signed up in a contract. Always have a contract whenever you do a bit of work. On top of that, I also did personal projects, so I gave myself challenges. There's things like 1-minute briefs where you can do really cool stuff, as well as if there's any particular charities that you are very, very, very passionate about, you can contact them because they're always looking for volunteers, even if that's just basic website updates, things like that. It gives you experience. But what you really want to do is, you want to show people, I love what I do, that you're full of ideas and that you're constantly finding ways to solve problems for people, that you're always developing your skills. So if you decide that you want to do a little online course and you get a cool little certificate, post it, show people. LinkedIn is also very good. So if you're currently studying, get your LinkedIn account started. Start talking about what you're learning, what projects you've been working on. Just share that knowledge, because there's no secret really. Like, anyone can Google something. So you're not giving away any secrets. What you're doing is going, I'm learning this. I have got the knowledge and here's the experience.
Yep.
If that's even just writing a blog, like this month we've learned how to do XYZ, and I have recently learned how to do APIs, and this is how I do it. It gives people an insight into the fact that, one, you're not hoarding what you know, you're sharing it, and you're showing that you know it. Because there's a lot of problems when it comes to interviewing and chatting with potential clients where they say they know something, but they don't have anything to back that up. because everyone who gets interviewed, well, the interviewee and the team that are interviewing want to see what you can do. You know, It may seem egotistical, it may seem like, oh, I'm just blowing my own trumpet, but do it, because no one else is going to do it for you. You know, if you've done a really fun project. So I did a free poster design for one of my friends, and it's about service dogs. And that poster goes viral every year at around the same time, and it's used worldwide. And that was just a free project. And it helped me stand out in interviews because I went, well, look at this past history I've got of my designs actually working.
Yep.
And that was a free project that I did because I was really passionate about what my friend was trying to achieve.
Yeah, so, do be careful you don't get ripped through that as well. There's a lot of people that say, do this for publicity. You have to be careful.
Yeah. No. You have to be
smart.
If you're very passionate about it, go for it. But if you're like, oh, well, it'd be fun, but I'm not feeling that passion, definitely look at getting paid. Don't do work for free. I'm never an advocate for that. Because everyone has value. You have value. What you've learned is valuable. But if there is something that you just like, you're like, wow, this is blowing my mind, I want to be part of that, dedicate a bit of time to it. Because you never know where that could take you. I know one of my friends who does illustrations and graphics started with Esports Scotland in the very early days, and he's now got a full-time position with them just from his few hours of volunteering a month. So
well, we do one website free every year. So don't be rushing at questions and asking me for them, because we do them very much for very localized community groups that are doing really good in this area. So we did the first one for Stockport Spider-Man. So they are a bunch of people locally who dressed with superheroes mostly during the start of the COVID pandemic, while we had our hour of allotted time outside to run in superhero outfits, wave at children, and try and bring some joy. And then we did one last year for Stockport Tourism, which is a group of a few individuals who do it for absolutely nothing, and run Stockport Tourism to give people an update about what's going on locally, take pictures of events, and it's all done for free.
It's all done because those people have a passion, and the reason that we do a free website every year is because, one, we want to help the community, and since E2E is based in Stockport, that community to us is Stockport. We want to reward these people who have been doing all these fantastic volunteering works, giving up their own time to try and make the community better. I don't think we could say that, Stockport Spider-Man was sleeping on it when he was doing all the volunteering. He was out all the time. So these people do get rewarded, but doing something that could help them is something that we feel very strongly about. And we are looking for our 2022 Stockport website to do for a community or individual. We don't do it for mass charities or big organizations. It does have to be very local, and it has to be on a volunteer basis, just because these people are often overlooked.
So if anyone knows anyone that's looking for something in that kind of world, please do reach out and let us know.
And if it's an animal charity, I'll be absolutely ecstatic. Sure. This is an animal community, anything animal where I can look at cute pictures and put them on your website for you, I will be all over that. But that's just me being biased. We all have a discussion on what
hopefully we've answered that question, although we kind of moved off a few times from theirs. But hopefully we answered the question. We're looking for work, and then just keep looking. And if you have any questions, feel free to ping me over an email, and I'll see if I can give you any support as well.
Yeah. So our next question, I think we might only have time to do one more.
Okay.
Is, are you currently hiring?
Ish. So we are pretty an early company. We've been running now for just under 2 years. So 23rd of April is our little anniversary, shall we say? So we're just under 2 years from hitting our anniversary for that. We have grown pretty fast. So we've got now, inclusive of myself and Matt as the director, we've got 6 people now. So Ale was the first person that came on board. I'm sorry about that, Ale.
No,
But
terrible.
Ale was the first person that came on board because me and Matt very, very quickly realized that we don't know anything about design, and people want websites to look nice. So Ale came on board to help us with that, and also with social media and graphics design, both internally and for our clients. And so that's been brilliant. We took on a person to look at kind of supporting myself and Matt from a updating site perspective. What we found is that we dig quite a lot into code and those elements, but we end up finding that we were spending a lot of time on I guess somewhat trivial updates, like adding a lot of products to a website or updating content, which pulled us away from doing what we wanted to do in terms of the coding part. So we brought on a person to help support us with that. We took on a person to start to learn more on the development side of it. So we've got the person I was referring to earlier on. We've took him on, and he's been helping build some websites. He's actually now built probably 4 websites with us since he's been there, and a lot of that was kind of a learning time as well. And that's not just for the things he's done. He's also supported with some websites updates here and there. But around about 4 websites have been done by himself now, which is really good. And we took on an additional person that helps support us with SEO and WordPress. We are still looking for up to 2 people, and we've got till the end of the month, so a pretty tight deadline to take them on. So we are taking on 2 people through the government's Kickstart scheme, which helps support people from within the ages of 16 to 24, who are on things like universal credits to get work and move into a new sphere. So we have already taken on some people through that. One of them we successfully carried on, and we hired them on a permanent basis, and the other one we didn't really do what they needed, which was more video editing, and they've moved on to doing something else, which is great, and they've already found somewhere else that they're working now. So we're looking for up to 2 more people within that sphere to join our team in Stockport, to look at a few different elements from search engine optimization, so some analytics, to a little bit of web dev elements as well. We pretty much do the full training in-house. So, if you've got a little bit of knowledge of websites, but not a huge amount, and this is probably similar to the university question to an extent we just had, if you're in that age bracket and guys that we just mentioned, please do just get in contact, and we can have a chat and see if it's something that we can work together on.
Yeah, and I do say, especially with us, that what we kind of look for is that ambition and that want to learn more than the past experience. If you have past experience, great, but just because you've got past experience doesn't mean that you still have that ambition and that need to learn and that want to grow. So you definitely, even if you don't have any experience, maybe you're just fresh out of uni and you don't know where to go, get in touch. Unfortunately, there is an age restriction because that is what the government asks for. But we really do enjoy taking on some people and giving them just a little insight into what it can be. And, even if they do decide at the end that it's not for them, that's fine. We will try and support you finding something else. I am constantly networking, have tons of connections. Mike has been building up lots of connections as well, and the business as a whole has been. So even if you decide that, after, the 6 months of the initial contract, that you're not happy and that there's a different area you want to go, we definitely try and help you pursue that. We're not a company here that's going to, tie you down and you will work for us. We want you to have passion and enjoy what you do. And it's part of, I guess I could say, as much as I hate it, the company culture, that, we're not very strict in that terms,
Unless you're not doing work.
Unless you're not doing work, in which case then I get called on to have a chat with you, and Mike then has a chat with you. And if Mike's having a chat with you, run.
No, it's all good, and even
we even do team D&D nights, team D&D nights, and team game nights. So
yeah, We one of the other guys that we did some of the video parts for, we even brought in some software and we did some video editing in-house for a while to help supplement their learning for that. If it's got a connection that we can utilize in-house, even though we're not going to probably use it as a main part, we don't mind allowing people to learn something new and kind of progress it that way. So yeah, it's been really good, and hopefully we can get a few more people. So we've got 2 more spots available for the end of this month, and then we are full.
Yeah, and unfortunately it does have to be based in Stockport, because the best way for the team to give you that experience and that support is in-house. Because it's very hard with code and different elements to just do it all over the internet. You could send them code, but it might not be that particular item of code that's actually causing you problems, so they need to see the whole thing.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of digging. Yeah.
So, and then I'm up in Scotland, so I'm obviously very far away. But I'm always up to having a wee video chat or a voice call or whatever's needed to help out. I had done some previous training on idea generation, and if we take more people
you did
on,
pop over to the office in Stockport to do some training with our guys.
I travelled so far. And I will be travelling down at another point at some point once we've figured out when.
All good.
So yes, I do travel down and do some on-hands training. I also provided some materials like a content creator box, which had lots of card games for them to start generating ideas. And we also do like to support others' hobbies. So one of our developers wants to be an author. So we do encourage him to, if he's doing something and he wants to share it with us, because, it's the only way you're going to get feedback and start growing.
Yep. Oof. Wow, what a lot of questions we've had so far.
So many. Very, very in-depth today.
Does anyone else who is watching have any questions, queries, anything they're confused about, they want to know more about, please do just ask away. Do we have anything else in that question bank?
We have a few. Let's see. Let's go with this one. I think we can answer it in the time. With so many do-it-yourself courses for websites, social medias, etc., why do people still use web designers?
Because they're lazy. No. We get this quite a bit. I mean, we had a client that one. Actually, it wasn't a client. I was reading an interview that someone had once on, I can't remember what platform it was on, but they had an interview in person with this company. The company was looking to hire a developer, a web developer, and the guy came in and he says, the interview seemingly went well, and the guy that was running the interview said, so how much are you looking for a salary? How much are you looking for payment? He said. So the guy who's there for the interview already had a full-time job on about 50k or so. He said, oh, I don't know. It kind of put him off. He wasn't expecting such a question. Usually the workplace dictates the pricing rather than him where he's been. So he's like, oh, I don't know. He said, I don't know, 55, 60k, something along those lines. And the guy who was interviewing says, no, I meant on an hourly rate. And the guy was even more confused. He's not worked hourly since he's been, freelance many years ago. He's not really in that guy's anymore. He says, I don't know, £20 an hour. He's not really worked out what that equates to. And the interviewer says, well, I don't know, why would I pay you? I can probably get someone online to do it for £10 an hour. And I think at that juncture, the interviewee pretty much went, well, then, yeah, we'll probably call it a day here then. Because, I mean, £10 an hour is pretty much minimum wage. Here, I think it's going to be slightly less than minimum wage as of April, and you want to try and hire a guy that's got 10, 15 years of experience in a field at an entry level wage. So and that's not just based on costs and who you're getting, but it is based on the experience that person brings and the wealth experience they bring to the table. So yes, someone might charge £10 an hour. But it might take them 8 hours to do something that the guy who's charging £40 an hour takes 1 hour to do. So you're weighing up the costs based on it. So an hourly rate is kind of subjective, and I guess it's based on speed. We have, I guess, similar here where someone will ask us our hourly rate, and it's probably higher than they're expecting, but we'll be able to get it done within an hour or an hour and a half that instead may take them as a person, like a day or 2 days, because they're not versed in web development. So I guess it's up to you and how much time you've got free to do it yourself. Because if you're doing it yourself, you'll have to do a lot of research about the different parts. You will have to do a lot of trial and error and a lot of testing. You will have to do some research in design colors or anything else, and programmability and security and rules and regulations and all those lovely fun things that we sometimes forget about. So yeah, you can do it yourself. I'm working with a company at the moment to help them support with their search engine optimization. They built their website themselves. Actually, it looks really good. It could do with a few tweaks, but from a person that wasn't versed in development to do it themselves, they've done a fabulous job. But they spent a huge amount of time on that one. So it really depends on how much time you've got available, and is it better suited to move it elsewhere. Similarly, internally, I now no longer run the payroll internally because it was using up my time, which I would have rather utilized more in the code and the development. So I've moved that externally, and our accountants now handling our payroll. So can you do it yourself? Yes. You can do anything yourself, I guess. It depends on how much time and energy you want to put into it, and also what kind of return you might get from it as well if you've not done it the right way, or what risks you might have if you've not thought of the right securities. And that pretty much goes the same for social media. I think it's slightly different with social media. I think you do need to be aware of your social media a lot more, about what's going on, be part of that conversation, which is what we do with Ailey, and she does with our clients, is talk to the clients about what kind of content we might want to be looking at promoting, and then they also need to be adding bits of content themselves to answer any queries or be part of that community. So
and there's also a lot of things with like these do-it-yourselves as well. They give you basics or vague, not proper instructions. So you could be like, right, I've got a do-it-yourself course, I've been on it for a month, I've done everything that it says to do, but it's not giving me any new reach. It's not getting my website to what I want it to be. That's because these instructions are very vague and they're not tailored to what you actually need. Exactly, so, when you work with a professional, so if you hire a web designer or someone to help your social media, or a strategist or consultant, you're not just paying for like their knowledge and experience. You're also paying for them to kind of, in a sense, give you a better idea of what you're needing. Like you could decide that you really like the color pink, but the audience you're marketing to hates that color. That means that we have to take that color out of the palette. And because a lot of it involves your audience, like even the websites, it involves who you're marketing to, who's your actual users, who's your customers. And for instance, if it's engineering, it's highly more likely to be more appealing to men than it is women, as a 2022 study recently came out with. So you've got to kind of look at it in the sense that these people as well also are footing the costs of like tools that are needed to enhance your site. You're not paying for the scheduler, you're not paying for the server, you're not paying for all of these security details. This company is handling that for you, or that individual is handling it for you, and it's one less bill for you to worry about. You just have to pay them what they're asking, and then you're just like, done. It takes a great weight off of your shoulders, especially if you're a small business and you're trying to do everything yourself. This can lead to burnout very, very quickly, and if you're burnt out, that can take months, sometimes even years to recover from, and it'll eventually make you fall out of love with your business.
I think I'm going to have to love you all and leave you all.
Well, it's about the right time now.
We're finishing up. I have a guy at the door with a washing machine I need to go and get inside my house. So it was great seeing you all, and I'm sure Ellie will wrap up with you all now.
Yes, I shall.
See you later.
Right. So guys, I just want to say thank you very, very much for joining us again on our Power Hour. So if you're looking for like websites, SEO, content creation, maybe even some branding, definitely come and talk to us at E3 Studios. We are here to support you, and we are here every Thursday at 11. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to message either me or Mike, or even the business page, and we shall include it in next week's lot. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Goodbye.